Hello and welcome back to The Full Experience. The Full Experience is an experiment in understanding television shows by just watching 4 episodes. We watch the first, we watch the ultimate, we watch the lowest, and we watch the last. That is the premiere episode, the most valuable episode, the one everybody hates, and then the finale. We are in the midst of watching Moonlighting. So let's move on to the ultimate episode, the highest rated episode, Lunar Eclipse. I'm sorry, that's the end. Take 2. We are starting our watch of Moonlighting.
Oh boy, Amos, I don't know about you, but I was starting to sweat bullets on this one. I was having that dream. I was like, am I naked in front of a class? What's going on?
I did a clever thing where I put the episodes in reverse order in my notes so that it'll be easy to just go in and make notes without having to scroll down. And that threw me all the way off. So.
It's funny. I'm starting to think of those as LLM moments where it's like you're in the middle of it and you're just looking at the input in front of you and you're like, well, this must be what it is.
The user had asked for me to do the pilot episode, but now he's talking about a different episode. Yes. We are watching the pilot episode, the first episode of Moonlighting, called Moonlighting, which first aired March 3rd, 1985. I'm Tom Merritt. He's Brian Brushwood. We are going to welcome in our producer, Amos, as well, because if I am correct, we all have different perspectives on this episode of Moonlighting. Amos came in hot before Brian even joined the recording earlier, saying that I'll let you say it, Amos. What did you think of this first episode of Moonlight?
What you're trying to quote is I said, I hate my eyeballs for having to watch that.
I assume that means you didn't enjoy it.
This episode was exactly everything I hated about 80s TV from top to bottom. The corny dialogue, if they had put an inappropriate laugh track,
I'm remembering now that you weren't there when we did our Miami Vice binge. You probably would not have dug the Miami Vice binge.
Brian and I might be inoculated a little bit to 80s television because
we discovered in Miami Vice a whole bunch of mini games that are very entertaining. In fact, I sent you a couple of them because what to you might be a negative, like for example, the lovely and talented Sybil Shepherd suddenly having hair on her arms and beefy shoulders when she does a stunt, I found delightful. As did I enjoy the close-up shot with the giant fisheye sunglasses where I got a excellent view of the entire production setup here for the video watchers. I'll put that on screen as B-roll.
Yeah, so Brian makes a habit of looking for these little boom in the shot moments and sharing them with us, which is more common in these 80s, especially because something like that reflection in her glasses you couldn't see on a TV in the 80s. So even if they knew it was there, which I'm not saying they did, they would have just let it pass, right? It wouldn't have mattered that you could see most of the production.
It's kind of like the fact that you're watching the Beastmaster and you're like, this must be in some fantasy realm where they have smallpox vaccine scars.
Yeah, but and on the resolution of TVs in like your 12-inch TV in the 80s, you probably wouldn't even be able to see the pixels anyway. So.
That's fine, but how did the ladder grow 6 feet after it dropped?
I don't know. What I want to know is why they didn't use the ladder to begin with.
Right? Yes. Let's climb up the facade of this building, risking our lives several times, and then when everything falls apart, let's just go get a ladder. We saw it on the way in here.
Loved it. I loved all of it.
When the ladder is first out, it's fine for them to both crawl to the end of it. But when
I was already uncomfortable with that diving board.
And now it's dangerous for him to climb out.
Actually, I liked that because it acknowledged the anxiety that I was feeling. And like, I'm aware that they, because there was no CG, I really loved the nuts and bolts production stuff, like framing the shot such that, yes, they're they're just on the second story of some random building and it's 2 feet down, but the shot is framed such that it really does look like they're miles and miles up there. I don't know. I was highly resistant to the beginning of it. The first 30 seconds, I actually started watching it and I made it 30 seconds in and I was like, I can't even. I'll do ironing and chores during this or something. And instead, because I always feel an important obligation to give this my full attention so I can speak about it appropriately, I sat down and I watched, and after about 3 minutes, the spell got cast and I was lost to the glacial pacing. There are certain things that we now are seeing again and again that you have to do in a pilot, like ain't that just me, the kid from Brooklyn who can't always remember things and talks to himself. You recognize those structures, but it got pretty great at some point, and I started to appreciate all of the thoughtful gifts. Every frame, they bothered to set up a halo height to get cool highlights. They bothered to shoot on film. They bothered to mostly dress out sets. You could kind of see where they cheaped out on some of the periphery, which again, I love all this. Was this 4x3 the entire time, or did it go? Okay.
Yeah, it was 4x3 through its entire run because it ends in the late 80s. It is alternately brilliant and cliche. The opening cinematography is great, where we're just seeing the feet and you're telling a story through just watching the people walking. And there are elements of that throughout where it's like, wow, that is a really cool shot. That is really cool framing. Bruce Willis's character, David Addison, starts out unlikable certainly by modern standards. But by the end, he has evolved in this episode from being a typical 80s, jerk to something deeper where it's like, oh, wait, there's more depth to this. I understand why Maddie would change her opinion of him slowly. Maddie's character, I thought, was fairly progressive, certainly for the time. And it's a weird mix of 80s masculinity and 80s progressiveness because of that. But I imagine that's one of the reasons it worked so well, is because of that tension. I really was going back and forth between your two reactions, sort of enjoying the cheesiness, enjoying the shtick, and occasionally being impressed by actually, that was a pretty sophisticated turn of phrase. That was a sophisticated shot, and just rolling my eyes at the situations they were put in, at the glacialness of the plot, at just sort of the obviousness and the plot holes. I feel like they had really good dialogue writers. They had really good acting, and they had really good cinematography, and maybe, I don't know, cheaped out on the rest. Although part of me wonders if it wasn't intentional, if they were knowing that the audience would expect the cliche, and so giving them that to lure them in and turn the tables and do something brilliant to make them go, oh, this is more interesting.
Oh, gentlemen, I think we just got a clue because it just flickered and said my mic was temporarily unplugged. So I wonder if that's part of it.
That's not a clue about moonlighting, though.
No,
that's a clue about.
But I'm sorry, but it is an explanation for why I was quiet for a weird amount of time. Three quick things.
And I hear an echo of myself.
Oh, doggone it. Okay, well, here, I don't know what to do about it. Oh, it switched over from the chat channel to the other one, so
the stereo channel.
Yeah, well, here, let me say my things, then I'll fix it while you're talking. To close the loop on my last production note, bold, brave choice to have her live in a Miami shopping mall. I don't know why they thought that was going to read as a luxurious place, but it definitely. There we go. So we'll go from main stereo to chat. There we go. The ceilings are too large. It looks like a Miami shopping mall. Second of all,
she sleeps in a room with pictures of herself everywhere.
Well, as somebody who sleeps in a room with pictures of himself everywhere,
not like that.
When you live, no, those are trophies. I mean, look over my shoulder. You're seeing my trophy, and around me I kept all my promotional materials specifically because I was like, someday I'm going to be old and decrepit.
You have them in the bedroom?
Well. I snore, so I sleep in the media room, and so there are old posters up in there,
okay.
right?
Yeah, all right.
But that didn't bother me. But the two things. One is you talked about the tropes with the pilot, and one of the things that I'm beginning to appreciate is the self-similar pattern where just like you want the first minute to kind of like the first act of a movie should look kind of like the whole first movie should look like the first third of a trilogy and so on. The pilot, I don't know if you caught it, Tom, but they exactly encapsulate the entire series. I assume we haven't gotten to the end, but there's a narrative growth arc for Bruce Willis's character because he's saying it sarcastically, but I guarantee you these are the same words that he's going to say unironically at the end of the run of the show, where he says, you know what? I've really evolved. I've gone from a snide cynic to believing in the power of partnership and blah, blah, blah. And she plays along and she goes, and she essentially says, well, I'm opening myself up to trusting you. And then that's exactly what we're going to see by the end of it. So I appreciated
the
that
entire series. Yeah.
And then,
but you get a more serious version of that on the building when the stakes are actually high and you see Addison suddenly become Bruce Willis, right? In the early part, I was like, ooh, this is Bruce Willis. Like, I know he's better than this. And then later on, I'm like, oh no, there he is. There's diehard Bruce Willis. We're seeing the flickers of him because they gave him a more serious role. They gave him a more serious situation, and they probably directed him to be sillier at the beginning.
Well, and that's what I want. That was my last thought, is when they go into the silly stuff, I don't know if it's an artifact of Bruce Willis's limited range and the fact that the role is not 100% congruent with him as an actor. And I don't know if the role changes to match him or he gets better at the role, but the stilted Alan Alda-esque, there are strong vaudeville vibes in the back and forth where it doesn't at all feel natural, but I kind of loved it for the stiltedness that it was. I could see Amos shaking his head, but I didn't mind it. It was, knowing what it is, I dug it.
I hated it.
I loved this show as a kid. But I was entirely wrong about what the show is. I thought the banter was amazing. And I'll be interested to watch the next 3 episodes and see if maybe it does actually improve. But this certainly was an example of how I remembered the banter. I thought it was like fast, Aaron Sorkin-like, quippy, witty. These two are amazing to listen to. I wanted to talk like them when I was in high school. I thought they were so fashionable. I thought that Miami palace she lived in that's what rich people do. And I don't know if that's just my own naivete or if it's just like, yeah, your judgment was a little less on television back then. But the thing that surprised me most about watching this, I thought this took place in New York. I don't know why. I remember it having taken place in New York, but as soon as I saw the Eastern Building, I was like, oh, they're definitely in LA. Are they trying to pretend they're in New York? But then in a couple of scenes later, he picks up a LA Times at the drive-by newsstand. I'm like, oh no, they're definitely in LA. Okay. But towards the end, I started to see some of what I remembered liking about Moonlighting, which was their dynamic, the dynamic between them. And I always thought of Bruce Willis as the guy from Moonlighting for like 20 years after that. I hope it picks up when we get to the ultimate episode.
I'll tell you what, man, Bruce Willis's character, he knows his branding and marketing. He was able to leverage the shampoo brand into the name of the detective agency and take advantage of organic PR opportunities to build word of mouth. Like, I'm just like, I get this guy.
As much as I hated this episode, because it is a pilot and I don't know how long it was between pilot and acceptance and then, filming for syndication or whatever. I'm actually really looking forward to the next episode because I want to see how much it does develop between this, the pilot that was sold and a show that it became. I'm
going to guess sight unseen, and Tom can tell me how close I am, that the highest rated one is going to be at peak will they, won't they tension on there.
Yeah, the highest rated episode is The Dream Sequence Always Rings Twice. It's season 2, episode 4.
So I'm going to guess maybe a clever narrative conceit layered on top of subconscious quiet parts being spoken out loud, that kind of thing.
I'm trying to find out when Moonlighting aired, like what time of night it aired.
They opened with bullets. Like they opened the first scene
good
and they said
bullets.
bitch, which I was you could say that on broadcast TV in 1985. Yeah. I guess you can. That negligee for broadcast TV was a little bit risque.
Yeah.
Nothing by
this
today's
is definitely
standards,
late night,
of course, but
this is definitely post 9 p.m.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm having a hard time finding that. I know where I can find it, but I just need to dig down a little bit. I thought the size of the sausage.
Oh my God! It broke my mind. I was like, is a bologna a ball? What is happening?
I'm like, that had to have been intentional. They wanted a hilariously sized sausage for that scene.
Well, and that's where you get some of those Bugs Bunny vibes again, where I think that a lot of that DNA Bruce Willis's character shares, where it's like they needed to kind of ratchet up the comedic over the topness of the tension, because even it was just lip service for the even being tied up or whatever. Like they kept it comfortably vaudeville.
According to ChatGPT, it was Tuesdays at 9 p.m.
Yeah, I just found it on the Wikipedia 1985 season, so I can verify. It was a 9 p.m. air, so not the latest.
That makes sense. Yeah,
but still after 9. So,
yeah, because as soon as they opened up with one guy's got a watch on his nightstand, the other guy's got literal bullets that he's loading into a gun. I was like, this was not prime time.
Yeah, actual Mary Hart.
Yeah,
little stunt casting in the pilot, that was good.
Yeah, those are moments that in the moment I always think is cheesy and gross, but whenever I see them out of the moment, I always love them. I'm like, and that even got a Mary Hart tattoo on it. That's great.
One of the local LA TV anchors who's still working is in the crush of the press crowd at one point too.
Bruce Willis says a line in here that I remember from. Of course, this is the first time I've ever seen Moonlighting, so this is my first ever experience watching the show. He says a line that he also said in Die Hard, and I thought that was a nice throw forward, if you will, from my perspective.
What was the line?
I don't remember. I went to
to
write it down. I couldn't find my phone.
You just LLM'd yourself, and then you lost access to the file.
It was something like, it's you and me, kid, or something like that. He says it on the over the radio in Die Hard, and here he says it directly to the lady. So
I thought maybe it was "Does Spock beam up," which I thought was a nice line, but that one's not in Die Hard. I've been to the place.
It's me and you, kid.
Do you know the place where they make the call where they do the dancing? Where they run into the bar. And
I know. I remember seeing the word Michelob and thinking that was before that would either be a paycheck one way or the that
was just what
someone.
was up in that steakhouse.
Yeah,
good steakhouse actually. I've been to that steakhouse. It's not bad. I think they may have finally closed during COVID, but they were open as of 2019. Last time I went there. I don't know. I went back and forth on this. It was alternatively brilliant and stupid, and I wish it was a little shorter. Maybe I did take 2 days to watch it. I watched part of it one day, part of it the next.
This was originally a 2-hour pilot that it no longer has all the commercials, and of course I watched it on. I watched it on Amazon, and it had ads on it. And
were they in the right place?
They were placed properly.
Good for them.
And one of them was a Red Bull ad where, and I want to say an elephant and a crocodile were fighting in a swamp, and the elephant drinks Red Bull, goes into the swamp, finds an alligator. They go rumbling around, and then she comes out of it with a purse. And the alligators, and I was like, that's a bold. That's
all right.
So.
Were the ending credits meant to be a music video, do you think? Because they play the entire Al Jarreau Moonlighting theme.
I did not stick around for the credits.
Cuts. Yeah.
Yeah. Whoops.
I didn't either. As soon as it went freeze frame, I came downstairs and got my Red Bull and sat down.
I feel like I just spent all night cramming for a final and then just got handed one extra question that I flubbed.
Well, all you need to know is that they play the entire song. Like the credits go on for 3 minutes and 30 seconds. and it's credits and then outtake from the episode, and not outtake like funny, like back behind the scenes, like just a clip of something that you just watched. So you didn't miss much other than that existed. And I'm like, oh, I wonder if they did that to promote the song, because it seems unusual even in the era of long credits to do credits that were that long.
It really did seem like this was a 2-hour episode. The network said we want a 2-hour pilot, and they wrote an hour pilot, and they're like, okay, well, we need to fill in the time.
Yeah, we need to stretch it out.
It did, yeah, it definitely felt like, I don't know, there was 45, hour 1 wraps up, and then hour 2 at the 45-minute mark begins with the two of them as a unit, like a 2-headed character team.
Yeah.
So where my commercials came in, I didn't get a commercial until about the 45-minute mark. So I'm wondering if like maybe they said the first hour was sponsored by so-and-so and went commercial free, and then the second hour got broken up.
I wouldn't assume that. You probably just didn't. They just didn't put commercials in all the breaks, would be my guess. But yeah, maybe. I do think that it took a long time to go from that cold open with the jogger to getting back to like, oh right, there's an actual other plot.
Yeah.
So
the barefoot jogger that suddenly found a watch and shoes when the guy got run over.
Yeah.
Oh, whoops.
Yeah. Believable.
My wife noticed that. She's like, "What? How's he wearing shoes when he's leaving?"
Big deal about showing him taking off or being barefoot too. Yeah.
Yeah. Only for him to be wearing Keds on his way.
Well, that is the Moonlighting pilot. Will the dream sequence always rings twice bring Amos around? You'll have to tune in for the next discussion to find out. That is the next episode, the ultimate episode, the highest rated on IMDb, episode 4 of season 2. The dream sequence always rings twice. That's it for this episode of The Full Experience. You get these episodes earlier, and you get to weigh in on which shows we watch. If you're a patron at patreon.com/Cordkillers, we'll fill you up with another episode next time.